Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jacob Bennett with Bulldog Analytics, and today I want to walk through the process of how we can leverage Power Automate to automatically save an emailed attachment and stick it in a cloud location like SharePoint or OneDrive. You know, based on my channel's content, I'm going to be presenting this from a Power BI user standpoint, but I think that this is beneficial for any Microsoft user to learn. You know, I've got plenty of real-world examples that I use in my day-to-day life through the work that I do, with people emailing me maybe on a weekly basis an updated roster of employees that they want fed into a Power BI report. Another example, and something that I'm going to be using in my example today through QuickBooks, is any sort of web interface like that can automatically distribute an emailed file on a daily or weekly basis. You can take those files and then use the process that we're about to walk through to load it into a cloud location, and then be able to use that cloud location as a source in your Power BI report. And then you can time up the refresh of your Power BI report to where it is always staying in sync and up to date with the file that gets distributed. Actually, the instance that we're going to be walking through today goes back to a real world issue I've been facing recently, where the QuickBooks API is having some major issues in the Power BI service. And so I'm having to switch all of the source data from the API to an emailed financial statement that gets pushed out to me on a daily basis. So I get that automated emailed financial statement pushed out to me around 7 a.m. every day. And then I set the refresh in Power BI service to refresh between 7 and 8 a.m. every day. And so I can kind of time it up with making sure that my file is updated. Now, there are ways in Power Automate to recognize when a file has been refreshed and then point to Power BI and kick off a refresh in the service. But I'm not going to get that in depth. This is going to be pretty straightforward, just taking an emailed attachment and saving it to a shared drive. But I did have some struggles with it on the front end, so I hope that this quick video can make it very succinct and easy for you. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so as you can see on my screen, I've navigated to the Microsoft 365 homepage. I'm going to click on the top left and navigate to Power Automate. All right, once we get here, let's go ahead and click Create. And we're going to click Automated Cloud Flow. Now here we're going to name our flow, and then we're also going to define the trigger of our flow. So what's the first step? What kind of puts into motion this whole automation process that we're trying to define? So for today, I'm just going to title this Example Email Attachment Save. That's a terrible name, but we're going to go with it. And then down here, let's choose our trigger. So I'm going to say when an email comes in, email arrives. Let's see what comes up. All right, sweet. I'm going to go with this V3 because it's the latest version. There is some intricacies and caveats between the two, but I'm going to go ahead and select that and click Create. All right, so here's kind of our canvas of sorts for our flow, and we've got this trigger defined, but there's no parameters set. So let's go ahead and click on it and go into the settings, or really the parameters. So down here, you've got all of your different options to define how you flag an email, basically, and determine what we need to do next in our flow. So there's a couple of specifics that I want to call out. So let's see, you can determine who it's from. I don't necessarily care who it's from. I'm really going to base it on whether it has attachments included, which, by the way, there's also this only with attachments. I don't exactly know the difference, but I always select both of them. And then also what the subject line in your email states, and then be able to filter on that. So these are the three parameters that I'm going to choose, and I'm going to go ahead and click out of that. And now you have the option to define those. So I'm going to say include attachments, yes. Only with attachments, yes. And then for subject filter, I'm going to paste in a value. It's going to come across as financial reports for ABC Company LLC. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. Now that we've got the first step of this whole process defined and kind of set into motion, we now need to determine what's our output from step one. So let's go ahead and click on the plus right below our trigger. Click Add Action. And from here, I'm going to navigate to Control. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on this Apply to Each. So this is our control step, and it basically determines what our output from step one is. So you've got to type in something here or define it. I'm going to click on this little lightning bolt option, and down here, if I expand this by clicking See More, it gives me the one and only option, which is to use the file attachment from the message. And this is all based on the trigger that we configured with the parameters in step one. So now that I've defined that, we now have an output from step one. And I'm going to go ahead and click out of that. And then down here below this step two, I'm going to click this plus for insert a new step. add an action. And now that we've determined what the first step is and kind of put this whole thing into motion, we've determined what our output from step 1 is. Now we need to kind of determine what the final product is, or what we're trying to achieve with this workflow automation. So what I want to achieve is I want to take that attachment that we defined and I want to save it into SharePoint. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on SharePoint. And here I'm going to click on Create File. So here you have to define your site address, your folder path, and then determine a file name, file content. If you're working for a company or you're a contractor at a company, you have to be given, I think, at least member access to a SharePoint folder in order to set up a Power Automate flow to save to those places. But I'm going to click drop down and see what I have access to. So here's my Bulldog Analytics LLC SharePoint site. And then for folder path, I'm going to click here. And I'm going to scroll down. I set up this test document library, so I'm going to click on that. For file name, you can click on that electric bolt again, and I'm going to, let's see, break this out. I want it to just match whatever the file name is for the attachment. So attachment name, same with file content. I'm going to align that to the attachment content. All right, so let's go ahead and click out of this and click save. It's saving and it's indicated that your flow is ready to go. So that means there's no errors recognized and we can go ahead and test this thing. So up here at the top, you see where we can click test. I'm going to click test. I'm going to select this manual option and I'm going to click test down at the bottom. Now it says to see it work, now perform the starting action. And the starting action that we set in the trigger is that an email would come in with that subject line that we defined, as well as attachments included. So I'm going to go ahead and forward myself an email with the subject line included, as well as the required attachments, and we'll see if this goes through. All right, so I just completed that task and we're going to wait here just a second and see if this all works out. All right, so now it's pushed us to this screen where it ran through our flow, and now it says that our flow has run successfully. Awesome news. This is great. So now I'm going to navigate over to my SharePoint location for the test document library and see if it's saved. All right, let's go ahead and click refresh. And there you have it, folks. Our file has been saved. It also looks like it may have saved an email signature or something like that. So maybe there's a way to figure out how to exclude that, but for the time being, this is really the file I care about. And now I can load this in as a web source in my Power BI report, and based on when that file gets distributed every day, I can set my service refresh to time up to ensure that this file in this report is always kept up to date based on the file distribution in my email. So hopefully you can find this very useful and benefit from it in your reporting. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or reach out, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.